backstage. I'm sure I can see messages. Oh, I thought I just saw a message that said it's live. Yeah, I can see you. Oh, we are live? Okay. Well, just another technical fun times for me then. As many times as I do this, if we even change like one setting, it's kind of funny. So we have this hosted by Demand Sense, which is new for me because typically I am the one kind of hosting and running things. And we can see that we have some people coming in. Welcome, welcome. This should be pretty short and practical. So I don't like doing, the hour-long workshops as much as I used to, or the really long ones. I like to do things that are more like practical and tactical. So what are the, if we can spend 20 minutes together and figure out how to save 30, 40% on an ad budget or campaign, then I would say that's pretty worthwhile. And what I have today is pretty much that. What I'm going to be walking you through as people are coming in is kind of how we can really easily save budget on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, like many platforms, doesn't always have the best natural settings to optimize your ad spend. So you really have to take things into your own hands. And we will be taking a Q&A at the end. So I already have some questions around frequency, around engagement data, pausing campaigns overnight. So if you have specific things that you're looking for, part of the benefit of being here live would be that I will answer this for you. So go ahead, and if you are interested in asking a question or something you're curious about, let me know. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Justin Rowe. I am the founder, CMO at Impactable. We are one of the larger LinkedIn ads agencies in North America. We do LinkedIn ads and Google ads, but running LinkedIn ads, I've probably been in 1,000 plus accounts. I've audited maybe 30 plus accounts just in the last 90 days. And what I find is there's a lot of really smart marketers and companies and owners who don't know some of these just hidden things inside of the LinkedIn Campaign Manager. And honestly, like, it can cost you a lot of money. And so I'm going to walk through 4 or 5 core easy things that you guys could do today to actually get budget back. The first one I'm going to talk to you guys about is kind of this idea that of why ad scheduling is even a thing. So 11 a.m. This is when the average B2B marketing budget on LinkedIn is actually already gone. And if that sounds crazy to you, and it's not because it got started at 9 and it only had a $10 budget, the ad scheduling for LinkedIn actually is based on, I think, UTC time zone. So for me, I'm Eastern. So by, I think, 10 p.m. Eastern time, that's when bidding is actually starting to open for LinkedIn. And so as you can see, or as you can imagine, if bidding starts at 10 p.m. and you have a $10 budget, a $20 campaign budget, 30, 40, 50, pretty much anything under $100, there's almost no chance of it making it till 11 a.m. Before that entire budget is spent. So, the first question I would ask is, if you're a smart marketer, like, do you think 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. is the optimal time to be dumping the majority of your budget? Or do you think advertising to, business people when they're in business mindset would bear the most fruits? Now, from the Demand Sense data, we already know the answer to that. People are more likely to make meaningful decisions during the daytime, during their actual business hours. And so ad scheduling becomes something that's pretty necessary. And to kind of go along with that, 30 to 40% is the amount of the average budget that's actually spent during low engagement hours. Whereas, most of the budget's actually wasted before their market even wakes up. We also have, let me see, I'll show you. So for ad scheduling, what I typically would do is I would use a tool like Demand Sense, because weirdly enough, LinkedIn still doesn't have that ability to do ad scheduling. And so something like this, super lightweight, really inexpensive, you're able to come in and just set schedules for your different campaigns. So this is an example of one that I've set. Monday from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Like literally, I just didn't want it to spend in the middle of the night. The other thing I've done would be rotating. So again, like LinkedIn has these minimum budgets that you are using, and you can only, the minimum is $10 a day. So if you wanted to say, so if you did want to run, get this. If you did want to run, sorry, I had pulling up the comments from the live over here. If you guys do have questions, drop it in there, or also just let me know like where you're from or what you're interested in here. But yeah, for ad rotating, this is our campaign rotating. Say you have a $10 minimum budget, which means you can only, and you, let's say you're running one campaign. If you wanted to run multiple campaigns with only $10 a day, what you could do is set this up, one campaign running Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then another campaign running Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, each with $10 a day minimum. Now you've taken the $10 a day minimum and you've actually doubled how many campaigns you can run with that. So that would be a big advantage, but honestly, just not having it spending money in the middle of the night is probably the biggest value and the fastest way. Like you could literally sign up for this and you could go in, you could set that one thing alone would probably save you about 15, 20, 30% of your budget, because your ad budget would actually have a chance of hitting people in the right mindset. So if that's the only thing you heard today is that LinkedIn doesn't have ad scheduling, most small budgets are spent in the middle of the night as a result, and that simply scheduling or rotating your campaigns could give you a lot of money back, then okay, I would say that's a pretty big win. The other thing that I would mention here is that LinkedIn's real power isn't cold targeting. It's actually the qualifying of the traffic that you already have and being able to convert that. What I mean by that is LinkedIn Insight Tag can actually see the traffic on your website, not just what LinkedIn sends. So everyone comes to LinkedIn and they're thinking, okay, I'm coming to LinkedIn because of the targeting. Actually, let me show you something here. We did something for our friends at Full Funnel, and I think it's actually really relevant for you guys. Because the idea is that like everyone wants to come to LinkedIn for the targeting, for the cold layer. But the reality is that it's actually way better at retargeting. And it can see even your Google search traffic. So let me see this. It can see even your Google search traffic, and then you can layer on qualifying filters that look like this. So website visitors, this is my warm audience, event attendees, company page visitors, or single ad image interactors. So you can get your warm audiences, and then you can layer on qualifying filters, company size, job seniority, job function, or specific job titles. And so you can actually, the most efficient use of LinkedIn, like to get started, and if you're trying to just make your overall ad dollars work harder, would be to start with retargeting. If you already have SEO, if you already have paid search, if you already have organic LinkedIn, then you have quality traffic coming to your website. What you don't have is a way to qualify that traffic and then nurture and convert it. And that's one of the main use cases that I use LinkedIn for, is to qualify and convert and build middle of the funnel, build trust and credibility with the warm accounts that you've already attracted. And so yeah, the 0 to 90 day retargeting, that's a trust building layer and assets. And that's the in-feed consumable content. And then 90 to 180 day, I like to use light touches, text campaigns, spotlight campaigns, follower campaigns. Those are dynamic off to the side on desktop, but they're great for long-term nurture, low cost. And then I look for those signals. You can set up campaigns or audiences based on those that engage with your actual campaigns. For example, if you do video, not only can you retarget your video viewers, you actually get to select the specific campaigns that you want to pull from, which means one audience can be top of funnel, video viewers, and that's going to fuel my 90-day retargeting. Another one could be those that are engaging and watching videos that are in my middle of the funnel. That should fuel and be fed to my bottom of funnel campaign. And so that is another like huge area of just efficiency that I would say scheduling your ads and understanding that retargeting or securing your first party audiences first is the biggest like ROI enhancer. And when I say first party audiences, if you have current pipeline, a deal acceleration campaign or an expansion campaign often yields some of the fastest, best results. If you have warm audiences like newsletter subscribers, past clients, current leads, and then warm digital traffic, all of that is a higher priority than a native, cold, net new campaign from LinkedIn. But that's usually what everyone comes to LinkedIn for, is a net new, cold campaign built with native filters, and that's not the place to start. One thing that I've kind of really leaned into more in the last year or so than ever is this idea that audience first, delivery second, and creative third. Way too many people I've seen focus on creative, obsess about creative, but they have the wrong audience or they miss the delivery settings. And so even if you have the perfect audience and the perfect messaging, if you miss the delivery settings, like no one will ever see that. You won't get the proper data, and you'll wonder why LinkedIn ads is expensive or why LinkedIn ads isn't working for you. So audience first, delivery second, creative is actually third. And I know for some of my brand marketers and creative directors, like that doesn't sit well with you. But if the wrong person or the delivery settings aren't set right, your beautiful creative and messaging won't get a chance to have impact. Obviously, you need all three of those. Now, here's, I would say around the settings, this is something that I would say, smart marketers usually get the targeting right. They know who their persona is. They get in a platform like LinkedIn. They can figure out job titles, industry, company size. Where I think smart marketers go wrong is that they're not overly familiar with LinkedIn specifically. And so some of the foundational delivery settings get overlooked. So here's 4 that accounts for maybe like half of the wasted spend that I would typically see. The first one I already told you, LinkedIn scheduling. It doesn't happen natively on the platform. And then most of your ad spend is actually weighted or actually spent in the middle of the night, which is crazy. The second is frequency cap. So in order to get someone to actually take action, you actually need to not just reach them, but you need to reach them enough times and show them enough ads to actually move the needle. And that's frequency. The average number of ads that a prospect in a campaign has seen in a given time period. So for like initial awareness, if I'm just trying to build initial awareness, the frequency of a cold campaign might be a frequency of 3 in 30 days. You're just getting like good first touches. In a 90-day retargeting, I might be shooting for a 90-day frequency of 15 or 20. If I'm getting a frequency of 50 or 60, it's massive diminishing returns and waste. So setting a cap to how many maximum times an ad can show specific either company in a given period of time could reduce a ton of waste. Because typically what happens is the most active users on LinkedIn will be getting all of your ads and they'll be overserved. And then the ones that are rarely on LinkedIn, because they're rarely on LinkedIn, if they only log into LinkedIn once a month, they got served one ad, it won't, unless that was the most amazing first impression ever, that won't really move the needle. And so it's the frequency. Now, bidding, max bidding versus manual bidding, that's another massive area of waste. If you do max bidding, for the most part, it's like Jesus take the wheel. LinkedIn's going to bid on what it thinks is valuable, and it always overbids every single time. You can gain efficiencies with manual bidding. And the goal for bidding would be, you could start low and then work your way up. If you bid too low and LinkedIn doesn't spend the budget that you actually wanted to spend, you'll know that maybe you were too aggressive with your bid. If you have a bid and it's spending more than your daily budget for that campaign, you'll know that you actually could bid lower. Ideally, when you get the bid at the right zone, it's spending what you actually wanted to spend to reach that group, plus or minus like 10%, but there shouldn't be a dramatic under or overage. And that's how you kind of know efficiency. I have a couple of questions, so I'm going to answer those. So LinkedIn, so ad scheduling, day parting is only available through third-party tools. Yes, LinkedIn has still not rolled out ad scheduling. Every other platform has that. I love LinkedIn, but yeah, it's a big miss. And so a tool like Demand Sense, if for nothing else, like for these four things or for these three things, would be amazing. Another question, how does ad scheduling work with region unspecific campaigns? So for regional, and so yeah, I would say, so take what I said and realize that ad campaigns on LinkedIn work by geographical time zones. So the United States and the UK are on different time zones. And I learned this the hard way. I sell to people in the United States, in the UK, in Germany, Australia, sometimes. What I realized is if you put all of those into a campaign together, the first time zone that comes online will get all of that spend. And then by the time the other two time zones are coming online for their bidding cycle, the budget has already been spent because it was all grouped into one campaign, and whatever time zone is available for bidding first will absorb all that. So if you have different geos, I would segment those by campaign, and then you can do ad scheduling by campaign. And so you can actually control the ad scheduling for those specific geographies by segmenting them into campaign and doing ad scheduling by campaign. And in Demand Sense, I'm pretty sure you can set the time zone that you want, either overall or by the campaign. But as long as you segment by campaign, you should be able to control that. And then audience tuning. This is a big one. Like, one thing people always ask about LinkedIn is like, okay, how do I know who I'm actually reaching? Like, how do I know I'm actually reaching the right people? And so with LinkedIn or with Demand Sense, one of my favorite sections here is audience tuning. And it looks like this. Literally, it's like every account that we're actually hitting with ads that have like 3 or more impressions, I can actually just clearly see them. I can see the accounts getting ad impressions. And then what's cool is we have this rate account. And so what I can see is that sometimes there's accounts that either we've already closed that we're spending money on, or they're not an ICP fit. And so being able to visualize and see the exact companies that we're spending ads on, and being able to kind of like thumbs down these, when I do something like this, it actually pushes an account-wide exclusion, or it adds this company to an account-wide exclusion and updates that weekly. So by viewing this, I get intel into who's in my funnel and how engaged they are. The most engaged, I could be talking to sales, but the other side would be I get to see, these are the ones with the most impressions, the most clicks. So if I have bad fit or like poor fit ICP companies rising up to the top, absorbing a lot of impressions, I can actually dramatically improve the efficiency of my ads by controlling that, by curating a list of exclude companies. And it's much like paid search. You're paying for the terms are coming in, and then you have to build out a negative exclusion list to make sure more and more of your budget is hitting the good fit accounts you actually want. And it's no different on LinkedIn, except we just never were able to see this before. But now I can actually see the companies that are engaging with my ads. I can control and exclude straight from here. And then the other thing is like all the demographic data that technically is in LinkedIn. It's just way easier to view it here. Like I can actually see what segments I'm getting more efficiency with. Like we're getting conversions from advertising services, but it's 2 to 3 times. It's over 2 times the cost per conversion of what we're doing with technology and information, and even business consulting is more efficient. And then financial services looks super efficient. So getting that kind of detail and then saying, okay, because most people, when they run their LinkedIn ads, they have 5 or 6 industries, 3 or 4 company size bands, 3 or 4 different personas. And a lot of times they're grouping those together in campaigns. And what we find is these different segments have dramatically different results. And so once you start, it's fine, it's fine to have that group, but once you start seeing the data like this, it starts to make sense. Like, okay, maybe financial services should have its own campaign, dedicated budget, messaging and image and copy and video dedicated towards that, maybe even bottom of funnel offer for them. Once we see the efficiencies we're already gaining, then we can, kind of better inform where we should be doubling down, dialing back. It's the same for company size. Almost every company I've ever worked with has some industries that they're actually doing better with, company sizes they win and lose with dramatically different. And then the same with job titles or seniorities or functions. And everyone has multiple industries they serve, company bands, company size bands, and different personas within those. What they don't have is enough information as to which ones are actually converting and at what efficiency. So we'll come back to that. Another point on the scheduling is that, if you do have it always on, you're just paying for like the crazy CPMs of like off peak or on peak CPMs and off peak times. And what we've seen over the weekend is that like it'll still show your ads, it'll still spend your money, but like people are clicking far less and engaging far less. So the cost, the click-through rate and the cost per lead can be dramatically different on the weekend. So I'm not saying don't advertise on the weekend, but the scheduling should be different. Typically, Monday through Friday, I might 5 a.m. to like 2 p.m. and then maybe come back in the evening, or just don't spend it in the middle of the night. 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. like might be okay. But on the weekend, I might do like 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Like I still want to advertise, but it might be like afternoon, evening versus like morning. And then I might be more limited with the times that I'm doing that. With frequency cap, kind of best, for cold awareness, I would say typically the frequency is like 3 or less. For 90-day retargeting, I would say you might want to put a cap at like, I don't know, it could be like 40 or 50, but like typically the average frequency is like 15 to 20 that I'm shooting for. But what could be the max? Maybe 50. I might put a max. What I found is like you'll have people with hundreds and hundreds of impressions per month. And that could definitely be max. Even if you put like a 100 impression, like that, it'd still be dramatically better. Got another question here. It always seems that regardless of how tight I try to keep the audience, some level of mismatches always gets shown the campaign ad. Assume all you can do is add audience. So yeah, I would say that part of this is because LinkedIn is an imperfect thing. And so like job titles are a free form field. People have multiple companies, universities, nonprofits, marketing groups, things that they belong to attached to their profile. So it can be really hard for so people are categorized in multiple different things. For example, when I look here, I'm not advertising to anyone with employee size 1, but some of the people that work for bigger companies maybe have a side hustle. So they're attached to a company profile with one person. So it's not that you're specifically targeting that, it's that these lines can be blurry. So I would say keep that in mind when you do exclusions. For like us, one of the things I had to keep in mind is that Exit 5, Pavilion, Rev Genius, places like that, like Growth Mentor, these are not companies that are engaging with my ads. There are marketing leaders who are part of these communities and have these communities listed as an organization on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn can't tell the difference. They've listed this place as an experience on their profile, so LinkedIn thinks that they're an employee, but they're just group members of these. And so I don't necessarily want to exclude, although I don't want to market specifically to Exit 5, Pavilion, or Growth Mentor, I don't want to exclude them because there's actually my ICP, like the reason they're showing up is because there's hundreds of marketing leaders in these communities who are engaging with my ads. So I would say be careful with excluding groups, be careful with excluding job functions. I know we're wrapping up on time. Keep coming with your questions. I'll get these rapid fire as we go. But I have to say this for you guys. Executive leaders, founders, owners, LinkedIn classifies them as business development. So don't go crazy with your exclusions because you also need to understand the nuances of LinkedIn. For some reason, CEOs, founders, owners, a lot of the executive team is classified under business development. I guess theoretically they help build the business, but they're not, so it's not just SDR, BDR. So you do want to be a little careful. I think excluding by job title is perfectly fine. I would be careful about excluding like company size of 1 just because of that overlap. Another question here. How should we actually put a frequency cap inside Demand Sense? To my knowledge, it is capping accounts, companies, not individuals. You can set frequency cap by campaign. And so if you have an account list that you're working, I tend to recommend starting to do campaigns by personas that are geared towards those account lists. And then you could set a frequency cap by persona, by campaign. And so that might be a good way. The other reason that I love that is because you can you can pull data from LinkedIn or from Demand Sense by campaign. And so I can actually see specifically which companies are engaging inside a specific campaign. And so if you have an ABM list and you have 3 campaigns by persona, I could lift each of those 3 campaigns and see if the same company is engaging across multiple personas. So now I don't just create a heat map of engaged companies. I can layer on engaged companies with multiple personas that they're engaging, is the way I would tackle that. With bidding, start low and work your way up. If you're spending more than your daily budget, then your bid is too high and you can drive it down. If you're not spending your daily budget and you really want to, then you need to walk your bid up until it is spending the full budget. But switching to manual bidding almost always saves efficiency. And then the audience tuning, like this is also just really great data. Typically what I've been doing is I'll come into this audience tuning, I'll pick the time frame, and then I'll export this and I'll send it to Claude, and I'll create like pretty nice reports about like funnel stage progression of these accounts, which is pretty cool. Next, let's see. We did, Demand Sense did a controlled test, same budget, audience, creative, but putting the extra controls on it. And it is a 38% increase in impressions along the same time, almost a 0.5% increase in click-through rate, and a slight drop in cost per click. But the effectiveness of the delivery was a big part of that. And I've seen this across dozens and dozens of accounts of just the control versus the not control. You'll get much more efficient reach. You'll usually get a lot more engagement because you're hitting them at the right time. And that leads usually to a waterfall of actual better results. Now, what I would like to make sure that you guys all realize is that Demand Sense has a 30-day free trial, full access. The things that I would really urge you to take a look at is ad scheduling, frequency cap, and budget cap. And here, like, this has saved me a lot of times, but like, you can come in, you can set a budget per campaign or overall. And if that threshold is hit or crossed, everything just like turns off, shuts down, you get an error message, and you can go and turn them back on, adjust the budget. But like just having that tripwire is pretty nice because no one wants to overspend on their budget. The warm audience layering, please don't forget that. Start with your warm first party audiences. And then the pipeline attribution. So yeah, this is massive. The revenue attribution showing the actual companies in your CRM connected to ad data. This is huge. And I can actually show like deals that are won, and then look at the ad impression engagement and patch that back. This is massive when telling the story of kind of like LinkedIn ads. So get your free trial. You should be getting a follow-up from this with this recording. If you guys have additional questions, you can still drop them on. So even if you're not watching this live, I will come back and I'll actually answer additional questions. I did have another one. So final minute, I'll wrap this up. I did have a couple questions here. So how do I manage frequency when I'm running video ads across funnel stages to a list of target companies? So I would say segmenting by campaign is going to be your best bet for a lot of these. And that's the only way you can maximize penetration and frequency by campaign, is if you actually break them out at the campaign level. How do I use engagement data to improve targeting over time? it's definitely going to be in this audience tuning section. And I would say, look for your breakout demographics and then create hero campaigns with dedicated creatives to the pockets you're already naturally winning with, and start excluding the ones that you're just not winning with. And your spend will get meaningfully more efficient month over month. So I think that is all I have for you guys today. If you remember nothing else, get ad scheduling. Actually use your first party audiences first. Get a free trial for Demand Sense. Set the frequency and budget cap, and really focus on delivering trust and value with your middle of the funnel. You'll see a lot more success on LinkedIn. So tune in for next time. Hopefully we have more practical, tactical tips. And this was fun. Thanks, guys.